we are in New York and we are racing to Boston.
I'm taking the Acela.
And I am taking a freaking seaplane! Tailwind, which is an airline that flies seaplanes from here in New York to Boston, has given me a standby ticket on their 9:15 flight. And I've wanted to do this since I was 9, so I'm very, very, very excited to finally be flying a seaplane.
Well, anyways, we'll see each other in Boston, but we gotta go!
Alright, while Josh is running away from the train station, let's take a look at the map. I'll be flying Tailwind from the New York Skyport Seaplane Base on the East River, making a straight shot over southern New England before landing in Boston Harbor. At the same time, Josh will be taking the Acela between New York's Moynihan Train Hall and Boston's South Station. Our start point is Moynihan, and our end point is the Old State House in Boston, so I'll need to take a bus down to the East River, and both Josh and I will need to take local transit to the State House. And even though this standby ticket was a gift from Tailwind Sales Department, views expressed here are entirely my own.
Passengers should proceed to track 12.
Okay, I'm off and running. Caleb's still stuck here for an hour. I'll see you in Boston.
Okay.
Alrighty, boarding has just been called. Leaving from track 12, en route to Boston.
Well, I've got over an hour before my flight takes off. I am not gonna buy a hot dog for breakfast. I am not gonna buy a hot dog for breakfast. I am not.
Alrighty, it is 8:04 a.m. We are rolling out of Moynihan Train Hall. Caleb, he's going nowhere for a while.
I hopped on board a bus to the east side, but before I even made it there, Josh was already out of the East River Tunnel and coasting over the Hellgate Bridge. By the time I finally reached the water, Josh had reached Stamford.
And the next stop will be Providence. In about 2 hours' time, we make no stops from here, between here and Providence.
So Josh said the Acela is going non-stop to Providence. I'll do him one better. I'm going non-stop to Boston. Here we go.
Tailwind's waiting area, located within the New York Skyport Seaplane Base, was small but comfy, with couches and free drinks. There was no security, but I was given this slap bracelet once they scanned my ticket. My undiagnosed neurodivergent side really liked that. Walking out to the dock, I only had to wait a few minutes before a plane came into view. It almost came in for a landing, but then bailed at the last second, circling around for another attempt. We waited for it to come back, I enjoyed the pristine state of the seaplane terminal, and Josh enjoyed Bridgeport for a few seconds. Then our plane was back, and oh my gosh, if you've never witnessed a seaplane land in person, you should. It's like all the coolest parts of a Cessna and a jet ski rolled into one. Our plane was indeed a Cessna 208B Grand Caravan EX, modified to have pontoons, that's the official name for those floaty things. These proved to be handy footing for the co-pilot, who jumped out of the cockpit and helped guide the plane to shore, lashing it to the dock. Josh may have been cruising along at a smooth 70 miles an hour, but my experience was about to be anything but smooth, because the East River was starting to get choppy. The giant boats next to us were sloshing back and forth, and our poor little plane and dock were undulating with the current, especially the wings. Somehow I made it on. 2 other people boarded alongside me, and we were off. And I have to say, this was the single coolest takeoff I've ever experienced. After a few minutes, I looked down, and we were directly over LaGuardia. I bet Josh wasn't having this much fun on the Acela. I passed below the Whitestone Bridge, and Josh blew through New Haven. From up here, I got a good sense of how big Long Island really is. By the time we crossed the Throgs Neck Bridge, we already had the Stamford skyline in our sights. We were gaining on the Acela. Seats on board our Cessna were decently comfy, and each passenger had an overhead light, an air sickness bag, and a safety card. Just a few minutes later, we were passing Norwalk, and Josh's train was reaching 100 miles per hour. He was finally on the part of the Northeast Corridor with nice scenery, while I was high enough above Bridgeport that it actually looked nice. After New Haven, our plane left the Long Island Sound and turned inland. Now you might be wondering, if we're flying over land, how could we make an emergency landing? Well, Tailwind seaplanes are, in fact, amphibious. At one point, they actually operated a flight from Washington Dulles to the East River, which Josh was lucky enough to experience. But do you know what I'm lucky enough to experience? Having my wonderful Patreon support.
Oh, just get on with it already.
Okay, but did you know I have bonus videos?
You stupid idiot! Is this a YouTube video or a money laundering scheme?
But if you support me, I can go somewhere cool in January.
I know one way to get people to subscribe to your Patreon. Finish the video.
Okay, fine. Josh tore down the Northeast Corridor, passing a Shoreline East train full of morning commuters. But as he reached New London, so did I. The Seaplane was now in the lead. Just a few minutes later, we had reached Rhode Island, and after passing to the north of Narragansett Bay and catching sight of T.F. Green Airport, we flew almost directly over the Rhode Island State House in Providence. From here, we could see the Boston skyline as we began to descend, maneuvering around the southern shores of Massachusetts. Josh and the Acela, meanwhile, were putting on a dramatic burst of speed.
I want to welcome on board the fastest moving land vehicle in all of North America. 150 miles an hour, fastest anything on land is legally allowed to go.
As we reached our final approach into Boston, we found ourselves flying parallel with a Sun Country 737 heading into Logan Airport. Downtown was now straight ahead, and it was time for a landing. Unlike on a typical flight, the plane didn't slow down right away after touchdown, and we glided over the water's surface towards the dock like a speedboat. We taxied around to the harbor, our fearless co-pilot stepped onto the pontoon again, and soon we were lashed to the dock. Since Boston doesn't have as sophisticated a seaplane base as New York, we then had to board an actual boat to get to shore.
And I'm in Boston. What the heck?
I figured I could head to the old State House from here, but then I had another idea. Jumping on the underground Silver Line bus, I headed to South Station.
Robin, final station stop, downtown Boston South Station. Enjoy the rest of your day. Get to your destination safely.
Alright, now we gotta hustle, because I think Hale might be... Oh no!
Look at him, vlogging to his little GoPro.
How did you get here so fast?
I took a seaplane.
That'd explain it.
So what are my final thoughts on Tailwind's seaplane service? Well, it was an absolutely breathtaking experience from start to finish, completely unlike any flight I've ever been on. Stepping on a vehicle in Midtown Manhattan, enjoying amazing views, and winding up at the Boston waterfront a little over an hour later was such an amazing novelty. I hope all of you can try something like that at least once. And this is where I was supposed to plug Tailwind and tell you all to visit their website and book a flight, but I can't. See, I'm not Tailwind's target demographic at all. This ticket would have been $350 or more if I had paid for it, and I've gone to Europe for less. No, Tailwind created a product for the people in Midtown Manhattan and downtown Boston who do business. These business people value their time, and they need quick ways to get between the two downtowns. That's why the Acela has been so popular for the past quarter century. Wow, I'm old. Ride it on a weekday morning, and most of your fellow passengers will be spending the whole trip doing business, making the best use of their time while in transit. Sure, flying may be faster, but New York's airports are far from downtowns. Ubers to and from the airports might get stuck in traffic, and there's lots of transition time when you're flying where you can't do business. Tailwind's whole idea was to do Acela but better, taking advantage of Boston and Manhattan's downtown adjacent water to make a fast, one-seat ride for business travelers. But here's the thing. You can't get work done on a seaplane the way you can on a train. It's just not conducive for that. It's bumpy and there isn't even a tray table, and it's way more expensive than the train. You could ride Acela first class for less, in much greater comfort, or Uber to LaGuardia, fly Delta to Logan Airport, and eat lobster at Legal Seafoods in Terminal A. Seaplanes can only operate certain months of the year, and are more prone to delays due to bad weather. At that point, riding a seaplane to do business just becomes bad business. Thus, Tailwind tried to appeal to a demographic that didn't need them, and as of this year, they are no longer operating commercial flights. They do still exist as a charter, and the plane I rode has been making regular runs between New Haven and East Hampton this summer, so if you're the type who would hire a seaplane, please join my Patreon. Special thanks to Josh for connecting me with this ticket, and to Tailwind for flying me for free. And special thanks to all of you guys for getting this channel to 10K. Whether you're here from the algorithm or have been around since my cringy Minecraft videos, it's because of you that I'm able to live the dream of making travel content. Stay awesome and stay tuned. Lots more is on the way.
Can you play some exciting sort of race music? I'm racing my friends to Boston. We're using different transportation modes.
Sure.